On this episode of Feel Dumb for Asking,
Let's tackle, what does a woman really need, Pastor Shawn, in a relationship?
Well, I've broken it down into 5, so let's just stick to the 5. The first of the 5, which is very important for a woman, is what I call non-sexual affection.
And now, Ronnie and Bo.
All right, it's time for another episode of Feel Dumb for Asking with Ronnie and Bo. Bo, you're looking especially good today.
Thank you very much. So are you. And this is episode 2. This is episode 8, but our second installment with Pastor Shawn McBride. And I'm a little embarrassed because last time we talked about what does a man need in a relationship, and I jokingly flew off the handle and said a hoagie and a beer. And so now I know when we start this one, let's see, respect and love.
You didn't get these tattooed?
Foot massages. There's going to be a lot. I'm going to be under a lot of pressure for this one. What does a woman need in a relationship?
Right. So that's the question we're tackling today. What does a woman really need in a relationship? The last episode, if you didn't catch it, with Pastor Shawn McBride, we answered the question, what does a man really need in a relationship? And he walked us through 5
Incredible.
things. And so Pastor Shawn McBride's an ordained pastoral counselor, highly sought after marriage and family therapist, been serving families for over 20 years, got a master's degree in counseling, authored a whole bunch of books. He's been married for over 25 years to Dana. They've got 5 kids, make their family home in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. And you can get more info about him at couplescounselingcenter.org, couplescounselingcenter.org. And so, Shawn McBride, my brother from another mother, how are you?
Hey. I am doing fantastic. It is always a pleasure to be in the company of Ronnie and Bo.
Well,
I
thank you,
mean,
Pastor Shawn.
I feel like I'm so close to the Holy Trinity right now. like Father, Son. Like, this is great. So good to hear you guys today.
Yeah,
thank you, man. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, this was such a huge blessing and super helpful in the last episode where we talked about what men really need in a relationship. And you walked us through 5 things. Again, if people
I remember
didn't
the
catch
first
it,
one.
What was
Can
it?
I volunteer for the first one?
Yeah, go.
I think the first one was a man needs sex. Is that right?
That was it.
Yeah.
All
That
right.
was
Let's
it.
stop the test. I got 100%.
Right. Shawn, you don't need to elaborate. Can you just give us the 5 needs of a man? Just walk us through the 5.
Absolutely. He needs sexual fulfillment.
Yes.
He needs respect/admiration.
Yes.
He needs an attractive spouse.
Yes.
He needs a playmate / recreational companion.
Okay.
And finally, he needs domestic support.
Fantastic. Well,
So
if
smart.
you get the elaboration on that, go back and listen to the last episode with Pastor Shawn. So, Shawn, today we're going to talk about what a woman really needs in a relationship. So I'm just assuming it's different stuff.
Yes. There was a guy that wrote a book called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
Yeah.
And talked about just how totally opposite men and women are. And that's perfectly fine. And when it comes to a relationship, a dating relationship, marital relationship, an engaged relationship, it's important for the man and the woman to go into it understanding what their needs are.
Yeah.
Some similarities, obviously, but there are differences in terms of what he wants and what she wants.
Right, because you're so right. There are certain needs that we've all got. Sometimes it even feels weird. Maybe it's based on personality, but I know for me, I have a hard time even expressing the fact that I've got any needs.
Right.
And yet I do. Everybody does.
And then your wife is expected to know those needs.
Right, exactly.
So, which makes it more difficult and more strain on a relationship.
Right.
We all go through that, right?
Yeah.
And for the most part, because couples have not been given this information when they're in the midst of communication issues, when they can't resolve conflict, they're in arguments, they can't really make sense of what's going on, which is why when they go to counseling, typically a good counselor is going to be able to break down, okay, here's what's really going on. You know, and at least that's what I do in my office. These needs are so powerful they become dominating factors in terms of marital happiness, relationship happiness. So when I'm able to say to the lady, hey, listen, here are the things that he's asking for. When I'm able to say to the man, hey, listen, here's what your lady's asking for, it's almost like an aha moment.
Yeah.
Like, because where do you learn, even the things that I mentioned about the men, where do you learn these things? You don't learn these things in school. You don't learn them in college.
Right.
And if you don't do premarital counseling, you may not learn them. So men and women are sort of fending for themselves. They love each other. They want to be together, but they don't have an understanding. And all you're get understanding. They don't have an understanding of what their partner needs.
Yeah. And when a marriage is working on all cylinders, I think there is, like you said, a good understanding of what each other needs. And then the marriage is better. The relationship is better. But then something you said last episode, it really intrigued me too, that in a number of ways, a number of instances, if my need isn't getting met in the way that God had intended in my marriage, there's a likelihood I might go try to get that need met somewhere else.
Absolutely, because you're vulnerable.
Right.
When needs are not being met, the spouse is vulnerable to an affair. I'm not saying they are going to have an affair.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they're going to step out, but they become vulnerable. Because we're talking about needs and not just wants or desires, it's a whole different ballgame. These are absolutes that a man and a woman must give to each other in a marriage to prevent vulnerability. If you look at any man who's ever had an affair, whether that affair was emotional or physical, and vice versa, any woman who's had an affair, they both were in a vulnerable spot. And I got thousands of stories to tell you about that. And because when you get them in the office and you break it down and you find out why, you find out exactly, okay, why did this happen? One of the two people were vulnerable, and unfortunately, they stepped outside of the relationship. Ronnie and Bo, it's almost like if you have a fireplace in your home, the safest place for the fire to burn is inside the fireplace. It's like it's in that box. If you keep the fire in the box, it's going to benefit the entire house. When you start talking about taking the fire and putting it on your living room floor, or let's set the fire on the countertop, or let's just put the fire on the couch, you take it outside of that box, then you're susceptible to the house burning down. The same is true in relationships. When you go outside of your relationship to get your needs met, you're subject to burn down the whole house.
Well, that's why this info is even so much more helpful, because it can be something that's really a blessing and make your marriage enjoyable and satisfying the way that God really intended. It's also, some extent, it's protective measures too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, yeah.
All right. Well, Shawn, so
hold on one second. I'm just thinking while you guys are talking.
Yeah.
I imagine there's a place to contact you, Pastor Shawn, on your website, couplescounselingcenter.org. I'm trying not to get you more work or whatever, have to do more if people contact you that way. And people can also contact Ronnie and Bo at gmail.com. I have to get those plugs in. But the reason I did that is it would be a wonderful experiment for those listening to this, when you're going down the 5 things, to send us a note, or to send Pastor Shawn a note, and you know, wow, that one was relevant, or yeah, my husband never does that, or my wife always does it, whatever. It would be neat to see if we got a response from that like that from the listener.
That would be great.
Absolutely. And listen, the 24 hours in a day, I love my work. I love the work I do. I always have room for new clients. So whether they find me on the website or they send me a text message, I'll always respond. This is my life's work. This is what I do, and I love it.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so you gave us 5 things last episode of what a man really needs. Let's tackle, what does a woman really need, Pastor Shawn, in a relationship?
Everything. Absolutely everything.
So it's one
question.
thing and a million things all at once.
Dude, we don't have enough time on this little podcast
So wait a
to
minute.
go through.
So we get 5 and they get infinity.
Oh man, oh man. Well, I've broken it down into 5. So let's just stick to the 5. The first of the 5, which is very important for a woman, is what I call non-sexual affection. Non-sexual affection. So we said that the man wants sex, but a woman wants non-sexual affection. Now, here's how we break that down. For a man, sex is an event. For a woman, sex is an environment. I'll say it again.
Explain that. Yeah.
Sex is an event for a man. He no matter what's happened the day before, no matter what kind of argument they've been in, no matter how messy the house is, no matter how bad the kids are acting up, you offer him some sex, he's gonna say, yes, ma'am, give it to me right now. I'll take it. For a woman, not so much. For her, sex is more than a physical experience. In fact, it's more emotional for her. So a man who is smart, who wants to have sex, who wants to have the event, he's going to be sure that he creates the right environment so that she's calm, so that she's happy. In other words, I look at it this way. Here's a good illustration. For a man, sex is like a microwave. For a woman, it's like being a crock pot.
Yeah.
For a man, it's like hit it and quit it. You know, he's a 2-pump chump, right? But for a woman, you got to let that simmer. If you want to, listen.
Hey, excuse me, Pastor Shawn. Can we title this episode "2-Pump Chump"?
Listen,
Sorry to interrupt.
If I want to have sex with my wife tonight at 10 o'clock, I got to start the process as soon as I wake up in the morning to create the right environment. See, I don't need all that. Just let's just do it.
Right.
But for women, affection is that glue. Affection is, I love you. I care about you. You're special. You're beautiful. You hug her. You kiss her. You buy her flowers. You gotta set it up. Yeah, you gotta hold hands. It's what you did. It's what you did when you were dating her. Even when you were chasing her. We were so much more affectionate, and we were so much more tender, and we were so much more kind because we had an agenda. We had a goal.
Yeah.
And the goal wasn't just to lead her to Jesus. And so that affection. And so, a lot of men say to me, well, I'm just not affectionate. Oh, yes, you are. You got a dog? You got a cat?
Right.
Oh yeah. I see how you talk to your dog. Oh,
right.
Come here. Good. Oh, come here, little Billy. Oh, come here. Oh, come here, Rex. Oh yeah. I see how you rub your cat. Or if you have daughters.
Yes.
Your whole voice changes when you see your daughter. You oh man, and you so sweet, and you so this. But your wife wants you to turn into that affectionate man when it comes to her, because for her, listen, the emotional always precedes the physical. The emotional always precedes the physical. Good. And so affection is how you unlock and untap those emotions in her.
That's huge. I can see that. I had a friend of mine that does marriage counseling, and he had talked about his wife. They had some. It sounds a little cheesy when you talk about it, and yet, kind of who cares if it works, And they had some candle on their fireplace mantle.
You mean we have to wait for the candle to burn out? I can't wait that long.
The 2-pump chump over here.
Just light the candle and let the aroma fill the room.
Yeah, exactly. But would start like if that was kind of the direction stuff was going to get to head that evening on either part. One of them would light that candle at the beginning of the day. And it would just it would set the environment.
No, it wouldn't. It would put too much pressure on the other person who didn't light the candle.
but it just kind of set the table, and it moved away from the 2-pump chump. How many times are we gonna this is hashtag 2-pump chump? So
if that's the case, I'd be in the candle of a month club or whatever. You know?
Well, Ronnie and Bo, look at it this way. I want you to look at it this way. So with social media, with text messaging, I cannot tell you over the last 20 years, even well before text messaging, and even after text messaging, the amount of women that I have counseled who've had affairs.
Wow.
And what I constantly hear is this other man was very affectionate, where with her husband, with her boyfriend, she wasn't getting good morning, beautiful texts.
Right.
She wasn't getting messages, hey, sexy, how are you? I'm just thinking about you. Oh, I can't wait to get home to hug you. So now, as we talked about vulnerability, she's getting these other qualities of affection, these other sweet nothings, if you will. She's getting those things from other men. And now she's susceptible and vulnerable in her own relationship because her man refuses to show affection.
Right.
When that's why he got her in the first place.
Exactly. You know, that hits me because Anna, my wife, just started working outside the home end of last year. And I don't know, maybe a month or two ago, she came home. She told me somebody that, you know, I don't know if it's the UPS guy or somebody that comes to the office frequently or whatever, made some comment that, you know, she kind of laughed at, but it was a comment of something like, oh, what do you do to work out? You obviously work out.
Compliment, right?
And
A
it was a
flirting.
compliment. And I wasn't personally threatened, and my wife does look like she works out, but there was a part of me that instantly went, man, I better keep up with that guy.
Absolutely.
Not that my wife's got wandering eyes. She wouldn't, you know, but too long where there's nothing coming from me.
There you go.
And
there you go.
And she's getting this, that, and the other thing from every possible direction. You could see, you know, where it plays into so much, you know, downfall and back to getting the needs that we've all got outside the context that maybe God had in mind. Okay, so non-sexual affection, number one. What's number two, Shawn?
Okay, now number two is probably the most important in the list, and it's called regular conversation. Regular conversation. A woman needs from her man, according to marriage experts, a minimum of 15 hours a week of meaningful conversation. 15 hours. Talk about a part-time job.
Wow. Yeah.
15 hours a week of meaningful conversation from her man. Now just think about it. Go back to when y'all were dating. Go back to how much time y'all spent on the phone. And if you go way, I've been married almost 30 years. I mean, you know, we didn't have like the phones that we have today. So, I mean, me and my wife would fall asleep talking on the phone, you know, and just hours and hours and hours. And so a woman, I said in the last episode, men are more visual, women are more verbal. In fact, if you look at statistics, women statistically speak more words in a day than men do. If you look at the statistic, women talk more than men. So for a woman to be turned on, it's not about what they see. For a woman to be turned on, it's what she's hearing. I mean, you're not going to hear a woman say, "Oh man, your underwear turned me on." I can just see your underwear line through your pants, and I'm turned on. No. It's what you say to her. And Ronnie and Bo, I got to tell you, as a pastoral counselor, as a marriage therapist, I cannot tell you, even in the last year, how many women are in my office because they've had affairs. Mm. And when you get down to the nitty-gritty as to why, the affair started with a conversation. Mm. The affair started with a conversation. The conversation turned into communication, turned into a breakfast meeting, turned into lunch, turned into dinner, and then she turned out for the guy because he understood if I can talk to her enough, I can talk her right into a hotel room. Wow. I can talk her right into an affair. Men cheat primarily because of a lack of respect or admiration. Women cheat primarily because of a lack of conversation. And I'm telling you, husbands and boyfriends and fiancés got to pay attention to cell phone bills. Pay attention to who she's talking to. Listen, I'm not saying affairs are right, that they're never right. But what I know is sometimes good people have affairs because their needs are not being met. And this is huge for women. They want to talk. They want to talk. They want to talk. They want to express themselves. And they're not even looking for anybody to necessarily solve their problem. They just want to vent.
Right.
They want to talk. And when you break down why they had the affair, she says, because he listened to me. He asked me questions. He cared.
You know, you're hitting really close to my relationship because I talk for a living being on the radio and doing these podcasts and stuff. So I'm gregarious and outgoing and speak a lot. And we know that in my relationship with my wife. And there are times where we'll be out on the back patio and she'll say, you know, the boss at work and I'm a school teacher and they changed where the classrooms are and the kids have to do this because now they have to wear masks and she starts talking and I jokingly say, who cares? Who cares about what the principal did? And now I'm hearing you, and I understand now. I understood it before. I just didn't take it as seriously as I should have. And that's what happens when your wife is talking to you, and the guy thinks blah 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 blah, like the Charlie Brown teacher. You know, wah. No, you have to take that seriously.
Well, Bo, and I thank you for sharing that story, man, and for your honesty and transparency. A huge part of conversation is listening. God has given us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. There's a reason when God made our ears, he didn't make our ears in such a way as they could ever be closed. Wow. But when he made our mouths, so part of that, Bo, is learning how to better communicate. Right. Better communication means that you're asking better questions.
Yes.
You ask better questions. As a counselor, as a full-time counselor, professional counselor, I get paid pretty well. But you know what I get paid for? I don't really get paid for my counsel, my wisdom. I get paid to sit there to listen and to ask good questions. I could literally sit in a counseling session that's 55 minutes and listen for 35 minutes and give advice for 20 minutes. I've spent most of the time listening. So communication in terms of that conversation is not just you talking to her for 15 hours a week. It's asking her the right questions. It's being sympathetic. It's being empathetic. It's understanding her feelings, understanding her moods. And then when you ask questions like that, man, she'll do all the talking. And after the conversation is over, she'll say, man, it was great talking to you, even though you said 2 words during the whole conversation.
Wow. That's great. Well, what I'm hearing you say too, Shawn, is just that conversation essentially is kind of building a bridge to the emotional life of your wife. And then that emotional bank gets filled, and that builds a bridge then to the physical. And
there you go.
Not that it's all about the physical, but we're interconnected beings, and
we're interconnected. I love that.
That's huge.
I love that.
Okay, so 1 is non-sexual affection. Number 2 is regular conversation. Give us the number 3 need of a woman.
Okay, number 3, she needs from her man. She needs a man that is hot. H-O-T. Now, that has nothing to do with physical attraction. All right? At least not for her. It's important for a man to be attracted to a woman, but for her, heart means this, Ronnie and Bo.
Uh-oh.
H stands for honesty. She wants a man that's willing to tell her the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The O in hot stands for openness. She wants a man that's willing to be vulnerable and open with her. He shares his feelings, his emotions, his moods, his highs, his lows, his worries, his fears. He opens up like a book. Bo's
got that one covered. I'm just gonna tell you right now, Shawn. Bo's a emotion on his sleeve sort of guy. So I'm
making hand signals to Ronnie as you're talking because I did not want to interrupt what we have interrupted. I'll tell you, my wife. The last thing my wife wants to know is my openness. You talk too much about yourself. Good. Go, move on. Get the hell out of here.
But that's why you got to link it with the truth, not a whole bunch of lies.
The T is the T. Actually, I never thought about that. I mean, T could stand for truth, but the word that I use that's a little stronger is the word transparency. So she wants a man that's honest, a man that's open, and a man that's transparent.
That's good.
So when you think about transparency, a part of that is truth. But the other part of transparency, I like to use the illustration. If a woman is Lois Lane and you are Clark Kent, you have been so transparent with her, she really knows who you are. She really knows you're not just Clark Kent, but you have been so transparent. You have revealed the S on your chest, and not only have you revealed the S on your chest, you have also had conversations about your kryptonite. You are so transparent, you're willing to have conversation about your weaknesses.
Wow.
Your temptations. Now, if you become a man that's hot, honest, open, and transparent, it creates an emotional connection for that woman with you that is so strong, that is so powerful. It becomes what I call intimacy for her. Into me, I see. See, intimacy for a man is sex, but intimacy for a woman is honesty, openness, and transparency.
Wow, that's good.
In the words of Marvin Gaye, she wants to know what's going on. What's going on? She wants to know what's going on in your world, and she's willing to open up to you even more at a higher level if you're honest, if you're open, if you're transparent. She wants you to be hot.
Okay, so that's huge. That's I can see where that would just be really, really
pretty
key.
Powerful.
Yep, and I wouldn't say as a stereotype, Shawn. Maybe you can speak into this. As a stereotype, I don't see men as super open or transparent. You know what I mean?
Right.
A lot of times they seem to be guarded. And then I think what's also true is we're talking about the interplay between some of these needs that we've got. But one of the needs that men had that you referenced in the last episode was respect. And if a man's is sensing that they're not being respected, doesn't it make it harder for them to be open or transparent about their weaknesses?
Absolutely.
And so you can see where that could double up on each other, and now you got a rift.
Yeah. So the way it works, Ronnie, and that's I like how you put that together. When a man does not feel respected, he typically will act in ways that are unloving. Okay? But watch the flip side. When a woman does not feel love, she will tend to act in ways that are disrespectful.
Yeah.
So if a woman can give a man respect, and if a man can give a woman love, they got the two major components or the foundational things of these five needs we're talking about, that each of them needs to be satisfied in the relationship.
Man, and that
But
breaks the cycle.
But I also say this, Ronnie, as well. If there was a movie, I forget the name of the movie, you guys may know, but the guy says, "You want the truth?"
Yeah.
And he responds by saying, "You can't handle the truth," or something like that.
Yeah. Right.
And so that's important for a woman to know that, okay, if you want the truth, will you be able to handle the truth that he shares?
Right. Yeah.
And if you can handle the truth that he shares without judging, without criticizing, without pointing fingers, you will get more of that truth in return.
So before Ronnie asked you that question and put that together, I was sort of thinking on my own from a counseling point of view, and I didn't want to get too personal with your situation or experiences, but there's got to be a huge mountain to climb when you're dealing with resentment, right? Well, you don't give me respect, so I'm not going to, hold your hand, and you don't hold my hand, so I'm not going to give you sex, and that kind of stuff. That's got to be a huge mountain, right? Resentment or whatever we're talking about. Right?
Resentment, Bo, bitterness, anger. It is a negative, vicious cycle that so many couples stay in, and this is why I highly recommend marital counseling. Is so that in relationship counseling, this is true for couples who are dating as well. This is true for couples who are engaged to be married. There's resentment and bitterness, and so you need a third party that's unbiased, that's objective, that's skilled, that's trained. Because when you're a couple, I like to say it this way: it's hard to see the picture when you're in the frame.
That's right.
So you need somebody outside of the frame to be able to point out this and to point out that, to be able to listen and to be able to put together a treatment plan, if you will, some prescriptions, if you will, that will break the negative cycle.
And, I was also thinking, we mentioned this a while back, my point of view, it's easier to do things and tell your kids how to do them or to lift them up or to do whatever. But it's harder for you to do it to yourself or to your spouse, right? And what I'm thinking about now is easier said than done. But what I'm thinking about now is when your kids are somewhere and he got the book and I didn't get, I got the CD, or I didn't get the machine and he got the machine. What do we all say as parents? Mind your own business, tend your own backyard, get your stuff done, and don't worry about your sister and don't worry about your brother. And what we would hope to say is, well, she's not giving me this because she thinks I didn't give her that. Okay, you can do that tit for tat thing or that resent thing, or, again, easier said than done, you can pick up the shovel and start digging your row, and until you're done, just keep digging and work on it, Take that hammer and keep working hard, and don't look up and don't worry about, for 5 days I held my wife's hand. She's still not, blah, blah, blah. No, I mean, it's hard to do. Just keep doing it, right? And it'll come, hopefully.
You got to do your part. You're not responsible for your wife doing her part.
Right.
I'm not responsible for my wife doing her part. I am only responsible to doing what God has commanded me to do.
Beautiful.
And what I've discovered, Bo, in particular, now this is interesting. Now, while men and women are both responsible to do their part, I strongly believe this, Bo, and I think it's a biblical principle. Men have to lead the way.
Okay.
Men have to lead. There's a reason, and I hope I can say this on the show, there's a reason that God gave men penises and women vajayjays.
Yeah.
Why did God give men penises and women vajayjays? It's because God expects the man to be a leader and an initiator. See, men initiate.
Right.
That's what Christ did. Christ initiated. Christ led the way. So while we are both responsible for our own behavior, I do think in the context of a relationship that when a man who is healthy emotionally and mentally and spiritually, when he leads the way, it's very easy, or it's easier, I should say, for a woman to follow his lead.
Wow.
To follow his lead.
See, that's good. And that's back to what you were talking about last time, biblically speaking, I mean, we get the model, we get the word, in Ephesians for husbands to love their wives, wives to respect their husbands, but then it goes on to say how the husbands are supposed to love their wives. It's in the same manner that Jesus loved the church. And how much did Jesus love the church? He loved the church so much he was willing to lay down his life for her. And
there you go.
And there then is that whole thing of even leading and taking the initiative is still in a very humble, gentle, servant-oriented posture. You can see how that can just really be a blessing. It's not easy,
no.
but it's
no, it's not easy
it's
at
good.
all.
It's good.
Yeah, but it's not easy to live life. It's
Right.
not easy to maintain a certain weight level.
Right.
It's not easy. When you look at that passage, Ron, in Ephesians 5, it's so fascinating to me. There's only a couple of verses that speak to the wife.
Right.
It's like 2 or 3 verses.
Right.
But then you got 13, 14, 15 verses where God speaks to the man. So what that tells me is what he had to say to the man was more important than what he had to say to the woman. Now the woman has to do her part, but the man really, 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 really has to do his part. And that takes a level of maturity. And unfortunately, a lot of these guys who are coming into my office, Ron and Bo, they're not men, they're male. Because there's a huge difference between being a man and being a male.
Yeah.
If you are a man, you are a male by default. But just because you are male doesn't make you a man. And so we gotta help men to be men.
Yeah.
We gotta teach males how to become men. Because men are responsible. Men will lead. Men will serve. Men will sacrifice, okay? And so this is why I think what I'm talking about now in terms of the needs of a woman, while both sides are important, if we can get this as men and start leading the way, our relationships will change dramatically.
Yeah, that's huge. And that's why this is so important to have this conversation, because I think a real man will know what his woman needs and try to meet those needs. So
there you go.
That's good.
There
okay.
You go.
So give us number 4, Shawn. Number 4.
Okay, number 4. Okay, buckle your seatbelts. I'm not trying to cause any problems. Okay, but let me explain. Just let your boy explain himself. Let your boy explain himself. All right. Number 4, she needs financial security. Financial security. I didn't say she needs $1 million. I didn't say you have to make 6 figures. What I'm saying is, as a man, she needs you to make her feel financially secure. A woman, whether you're dating her, engaged to her, married to her, should never have to worry if the electric's going to be cut off. If the gas is going to be cut off, if the water is going to be cut off. And listen, I'm going to take this a step further. I'm going to say this in a very bold way, okay? Okay? I don't believe that a woman who is married to her husband, I don't believe she should ever have to pray to ask God for money.
Wow.
She asks her husband. It is the husband's responsibility to ask God. Why does she need to have a conversation with God when she can talk to her husband about money? You see, financial security says, you know what? I got you.
Yeah.
To have, to hold, to love, to cherish, for better, for worse, in sickness and in health, forsaking all others, richer for poor. I got you. You got to a man has to recognize who he's marrying. He's marrying a female, F-E-E, male. She is going to cost. She's taking on your last name. You mean to tell me she's going to take on your last name and she got to be poor? Seriously? I mean, in other words, I told my wife when I married, I said, if you marry me, I promise to take better care of you than your father took care of you. Because you're taking on my name. And because you're taking on my name, your life is going to be blessed more than what your daddy did for you. And when and I'm telling you, Ronnie and Bo, I got so many men in my office with who are lazy, who are indifferent. Bills are piling up, bill collectors at the door, calling the telephone, and they're not doing a damn thing about it. And it is sad. It's sad that these women that your lady, you putting them under all this finance that they already got. If they're domesticated, they got the stress of raising these kids. They got the stress of managing these different personalities. They got to think about that and pay the mortgage. They got to think about a week having a monthly cycle and how they're going to pay the water bill. What I'm saying is men have to step up and provide the financial security. Again, I'm not saying you got to be rich.
Right.
But at the minimum we can do is meet their needs.
Yeah.
Because they're our wives. They're our ladies. That's the least we can do.
I don't think I can form a question, and I don't know if you could form an answer, but, all this stuff has hit me square on the forehead, and in my case, again, maybe this is too personal, but we've got 401ks, we've got IRAs, we've got our retirement we're working on. We work on paying down our house, getting our mortgages down and our nuts down and that kind of stuff. And then I'm too specific, so I'm not going to really ask a question, but does that mean she needs $20 or $100 in her purse, or does that mean she needs a retirement? No, I'm not trying to. And that's not an answerable question, but it's something to think about. Maybe she needs walking around money. Maybe she doesn't need walking around money or a diamond ring, but she needs a retirement plan or financial security. So it's interesting to think of all the aspects that entails right there.
Absolutely. And that's a conversation a man and a woman have to have together as they talk about finances, because if he is going to provide financial security, it may mean that, okay, here's the standard of living.
Right.
Okay. Based on my income, based on what I'm able to bring in, here's where we're able to live. Here's what I'm able to drive. Our kids may not be able to go to private school. We may not be able to eat out,
right.
May only be able to eat out once a month or every other month. So that's a conversation that needs to be had too. But what I'm saying is he has to work. Adam, when God put Adam in the garden, the first thing he did was he put him to work. Adam was busy. He had to name animals. He had to name all them animals. That was some work. He had to sweat, and so what I'm in my context, a lot of I counsel a lot of people in my community. I counsel a lot of African American men and women, and I got a lot of black men in my office who are buying $300 Jordans, who are buying games for a video game, who are buying clothes, who are into cars, and while their electric is about to be cut off, while their water is about to be cut off, while they're 3 months behind on their rent. And I'm saying we gotta flip the script here. We gotta figure out what the priority is here. And women, yes, they want to be taken care of, and rightly so. They have their responsibilities. Listen, I'll say it this way, and I'm a little old fashioned.
Okay.
A woman should work because she chooses to, not because she has to.
Yeah.
I know that's old school.
No, that's right.
I know, but biblically speaking, that's the way it was in the word.
That's right.
These women were working not because they had to, because a lot of women are working. When you look at the family budgets, and I've helped couples work through this, a lot of this stuff is trying to keep up with the Joneses. It's trying to stay within a certain level of the person next to you. Who cares about that? As long as you're able to meet her basic needs of food, clothing, shelter, that's a starting point.
Right.
And obviously, as you work harder, hopefully you can make more money. Okay. But I don't think that they should carry that financial burden the way we have to carry it as men. The Bible says that women are weaker vessels. That doesn't mean that we're better than them. That doesn't mean that we got this higher status. We're equal in the eyes of God, but God has made them physically a little weaker than men. Okay, unless you look at the UFC. Some of them chicks will knock you out. But the point is, as men, we got to work very, very hard to give them a sense of financial security where they don't have to worry about how certain things are going to be paid, because that's what her father did.
Yeah, that's huge. I can see that because it resonates, because I know of the two of us, Anna is the more financially minded, I would say. You know, she's, I mean, I remember that car ride that the three of us had maybe 2-3 years ago, driving down from Flagstaff all the way to Phoenix to get you to the airport.
Yeah.
And you guys talked for 2 of the 3 hours just on entrepreneurial stuff and you know, ways to make money.
Actually, she talked more because she's a female.
Yeah. That's right. But she really thinks financially and in terms of wanting to be secure, but it's not necessarily in terms of wealth.
Right.
You know, she wants to know that we're being wise. And then she also likes, I know for her, that the more safe and secure we are financially for her, she can give more.
She's happier, maybe.
There you go.
And so for her, it's all unique. You know, there's, like Bo was saying, there's these different layers and aspects to it. For her, it's not so much about the next thing she wants to buy, but there's a safety and security that I know is big, but then there's a generosity component that she's excited about too, and all of
Absolutely.
that. How I can help that along. I know for a while, like I'm just not as sharp financially, but I still had a part to play in getting on board and providing that security, even though she's the smarter of us financially, right? You know, so
and that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. Some women are much better at budgeting. I know my wife, you know, manages our household finances, and she's really good at that.
Right.
She's better than I am at that. But the point about security is, just think about it. Women don't just want financial security; they want security in general. Like that's why when we do vows at a wedding, it's to have, to hold, to love, to cherish, for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health, forsaking all others. Are you willing to forsake all others?
Yeah.
All these other chicks on Instagram, all these other chicks on Facebook, all these other chicks you grew up with, all these other chicks in the church. Are you willing to forsake all of them in order to give me what?
Security.
Emotional security.
Yeah.
Security.
Yeah. That's
security.
Big. That's big.
Yeah.
All right,
so
Shawn.
security in general is big. It's big.
That is big. That is big. Okay.
Actually, no, Ronnie Bo. No. In the words of President Trump, it's bigly. It's bigly.
I never thought I would have the day right here. Shawn McBride, quote Trump. Oh, that's amazing.
I know, right?
That's so good.
That's about the only quote.
Yeah. All right, let's land the plane, Shawn. We've got the 4 of the 5 needs of a woman here. Give us number 5.
Well, hold on.
Number 5.
Hold on. Go down the top 4. Laundry list.
Okay.
Non-sexual affection.
Yes.
She needs regular conversation.
Yep.
She needs honesty, openness, and transparency.
Yep.
Hot.
Yep.
She needs financial security.
Yeah.
All right.
And finally, she needs family commitment. She needs he needs to be fully committed and fully engaged with his family.
Does that mean he has to go to the 3-year-old? Does that mean he has to go to the 3-year-old's birthday party?
Absolutely. The 3-year-old's birthday, the 8-year-old soccer game, the 15-year-old's basketball game. Absolutely. Family commitment. She didn't get married to you to be a single mom.
Nice.
She got married because she was thinking this is going to be a partnership with giving the kids baths. This is going to be a partnership of reading bedtime stories. This is a partnership of emptying the dishwasher. She didn't know she had to do this all on her own.
Yeah.
And so again, back to security, when a man is engaged with his family, when a man is focused on being a partner in raising those kids, it gives her not only a level of satisfaction, but a level of security. Because I believe children need both their mother and their father. They need a prophet, and they need a priest. You know, sad story I posted on my social media page on Instagram not long ago. Shawn McBride Speaks on Instagram. Shawn McBride Speaks. I posted a picture of an African-American teenage boy, and he had a picture. He was showing his left arm. And in the picture, the caption says, here, he says, I got a tattoo of my dad. I recently got a tattoo on my arm of my dad. And when you look at his arm, there was nothing there.
Wow.
Oh, man.
There was nothing there. So what he was saying was, yeah, here's the tattoo. It ain't there.
Of nothing.
Just like my dad. So while number 4, financial security is important, not at the expense of being committed to your family.
Got it.
So we gotta do both well. And in what I'm saying in this lesson, we gotta do all 5 well.
So yeah, not just providing the financial security. So you got 6-figure salary coming in, but you work 90 hours a week and they never see you. Then you're not fulfilling number 5. Yeah,
you're not fulfilling number 5.
Yeah.
You're not because being able to read. Listen, most kids, and Ron, you know this about me. I mean, me and you were youth pastors.
Yeah.
You know, way before God gave us churches
right.
and influence. Most of the kids that we pastored, the way that they spelled love was not Money. They spelled love Time. Time.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll never forget doing the funeral several years ago of a mother who passed away and left behind a teenage son who was a senior in high school. He would give anything to have Time with his mother and father. Forget the money, forget the clothes, forget the shoes and all that stuff. It's time, man. It's time. And we have to focus on spending what I call quality time with our children. I think some children are rebelling, not because they're smoking weed, not because they're doing hash or doing meth. They're rebelling because they're lonely. They're rebelling because what they want is quality time with adults.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. And more so when they get into their teen years. More so.
Right.
There's a famous music lyric that says, I'll trade all my tomorrows for one single yesterday, right?
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of those sayings, right? And a bunch of those things about, time. And that shows you the value of time and how important that is to have.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true. Yeah. Well,
and we have to schedule that time, right? It won't happen by accident, by chance. We have to schedule time with our kids,
right?
Just like we schedule everything else. Like, my kids are all older now. And so, I just send them a text message. Hey, I need to get on your calendar. Or, hey, I'm taking you out to lunch because they love to eat. They love to eat, but especially when they get into those teen years, obviously the preteen years are important time, but especially because they have so many influences. And that's the time I think where a lot of parents kind of give up. Oh, well, they got their friends and they got their social life. Let me kind of back off. No. Lean in even more.
Yeah.
Lean in even more because they may not tell you this, but they value your time.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how, as a pastor, when I was doing family counseling, how many angry teenagers I had to counsel whose parents, watch this, were so busy serving the Lord at church, they were never home.
Yeah, right.
Because they were serving the church.
Yeah.
I had one kid tell me, he said, I hate going home. I said, why do you hate going home? He said, because nobody's ever there but my dog. My parents always at the church. That's problematic.
That is.
That's because teaching should first start at home.
Yeah. Yep. Well, that's so true. And like we were saying last episode, COVID has given us a gift there that we all recognize. The first couple of weeks, even as much of a gear shift as it was, as we all into various stages of lockdown, there was a gift at the beginning where we were all like, "Oh, this is great.
We don't have to go to work. There's no school.
We're
let's
not
go
out
goof
7
off."
nights a week, and we don't have work. We don't have school.
Lasted
we could be
about a week.
together. And then it did. It snowballed into a whole lot of other issues that allowed to get brought to the surface, and a number of which right in our homes and in our marriages. And so this is just so helpful, because understanding the needs that we have is big. And then trying to meet each other's needs in the context of our marriages, I mean, that's such a beautiful thing, because that's what God intended. Our marriages, especially above all else, don't need to be crap.
Absolutely.
they
and
can
Ron,
be a blessing.
Ronnie, they can be a blessing. And when we look at these principles, what a man needs, what a woman needs, at the end of the day, this provides protection for relationships. It provides protection for people cheating.
Right.
When needs are being met, you don't have to go outside the relationship to get anything.
There you go.
Because everything you have is right there in your relationship. If all your needs are being met and you still go out, you got a problem with one of the deadly sins called greed.
Right.
That's a different problem.
Yeah.
But when needs are being met, there's satisfaction. Couples are happier. The divorce rate is lower. Okay. At the end of the day, when you ask couples why they got divorced, they may not tell you these exact words, but I can interpret it. He stopped meeting my needs. She stopped meeting my needs.
That's good.
And I fell in love with somebody else.
That should be a clarion call, the red flag being waved. And if that's you, anywhere that you're at in your relationship, then it doesn't have to stay that way. And we hope that understanding some of these needs and figuring out where you might be able to make a shift, take a step. I think that's huge. These steps, just chiseling away. You look and you go, gosh, I'm really scuffling with number 1 or number 3, whether you're the man or the woman. Well, go pray about that. Go ask God to help you in that journey, and then ask a good friend, maybe come alongside. Hey, this is an area where I'm not doing well, and you can help each other. But then I think we've got a resource right here in Pastor Shawn. Been doing counseling for a long time. If you go to couplescounselingcenter.org, couplescounselingcenter.org, you can reach out to Pastor Shawn and get some of the help and counsel that you need, because sometimes there's no reason to feel shameful about that.
And he can help you immediately. He just said that he can do it online and have a meeting with you today, tomorrow, anytime you want.
Virtually anywhere in the United States. I don't know how far out this broadcast goes, but I literally meet with couples all over the world.
Right.
Providing counseling support if they're dating, if they're engaged, if they're married.
Yeah.
I can give them some support. I love what I do. I wake up every day excited about the couples that I get a chance to work with, because, better couples, if we can help couples who are dating have healthier relationships, guess what's going to happen when they get married?
Right.
And the divorce rate is going down. It is going down.
And I was going to say the statistics will reflect all that in the future, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%.
And I wish I had a lot of this info heading into marriage, because some of the people listening aren't married yet, And this is good for even those that are considering marriage, want to be married someday, or even maybe trying to make sense of why a past relationship went south And this could be helpful tools because the future could still be full of hope and good stuff for you in your relationship.
If I can add one more quick thing, and I don't know if you two will admit this, but do you remember when we were single and we would dream as macho men, boy, I wish I could get married. Boy, I wish I had a girlfriend. If you're truthful to yourself, you'll remember those days.
Yeah.
Your parents will call it being desperate, but that's something else. And so when you're in this, if you're on solid ground, that's great. And if you're not on solid ground or missing one or two of those, be thankful that you're in this situation, working and chipping at those things, than being that young kid going, gosh, I wish somebody would love me in my life.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. And Pastor Shawn, I'm going to say it because I know her and I know you guys well, but your lovely Dana Michelle is such a gift. And knowing you, the cool part about this is it's more than theory. I know you. I know Michelle. And you guys... You guys live this out. You're not perfect, but you've worked through this stuff. You've lived through this stuff, and you strive to meet each other's needs, and your marriage and your family is reflecting that, and that's a gift to all of us. So, Pastor Shawn, thank you so much for all the time, and we'll definitely have you back to kick around some more topics here in the future. But
excellent,
you're such a gift to all of us, friendship and as a counselor and pastor. So thank you for all the wisdom.
Thank you,
thank you, Pastor
Ronnie.
Shawn.
Well, I appreciate you guys. God bless y'all. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you very much.
Well, thanks so much for listening. Just remember, folks, you never have to feel dumb for asking.
Thanks for listening to Feel Dumb for Asking with Ronnie and Bo. Available on your favorite podcast provider. Please connect with Ronnie and Bo on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and RonnieandBoShow.com. Send comments to RonnieandBoShow@gmail.com.